Welcome to makeitbigtraining.com. I'm Rich Sayer.
And I'm Stu Hayes.
And today we're going to look at starting a new business, just how much money is enough? How much working capital do you need? Stu.
Thanks, Rich. Well, there are two specific areas that you need to get your head around having cash available. The first, of course, is how much money do you need to start your business? i.e., do you need cash to buy a computer? Do you need cash to buy stock? Do you need cash to fit out an office? Do you need cash to create a website? Yep.
Got it.
But there are two other areas that people generally forget about having cash available for as well.
What are they, Stu?
Well, the first one is actually having cash available that's enough for you to live off.
Ah, that old chestnut. You've got to eat.
You got to eat, you got to pay rent, you've got to get to work, you've got to have a social life, you've got to do all the types of things that you do in everyday life.
So the mistake of a lot of people when they're starting their business is they see the new Butte widget that they can buy for 20 cents and they think they can sell for $5 and they think, gee, there's plenty of money in that. But they're not really looking at the time it will take to build that business. Is that what you're
Correct. So there's two elements to this. The first one is that in the time from when you start your business to when it's making enough money to pay you a wage, you need to live. Yep.
Right.
The second part is that in the time from when you start your business until it's broken even and it's big enough to support itself, then you actually have to continue to contribute money in some form just so that it can trade.
Stu, I lived in Albert Park, actually, in Melbourne for very many years, and there's a lovely strip, Victoria Avenue, full of restaurants. And I think it's a great illustration of what we're talking about. In the time that I was living on that street, I saw countless restaurants come and go. And it was disheartening because somebody had a passion. It was their dream to own a restaurant. Many people I even spoke to had taken redundancies or got out of an existing role to follow their dream and get into the business. And they spent all their money on the fit out and making the restaurant look amazing, getting the menu perfect, and then they'd go broke. They'd spend all their money up front before their reputation of their quality food and so on had got out and got traction, and they'd got to a point where they had a decent income. Or they fell into the mistake of taking money out of the till and putting it in their back pocket for their own living expenses. Both are definitely a no-no.
Correct. So how do you get around this problem? That's really where I'd like to take this conversation now, if that's okay.
Of course.
Let's talk about some very simple tips that may have a big impact. The first one is to start to think, well, how long is it going to take me in months before my business is at a point where it's going to be able to support itself? It is making enough money to buy its own stock, to pay for its own rent, its own telephone calls, travel, wages, etc., etc. Look,
in my experience, Stu, generally whatever you're thinking, it's going to be double.
Correct. Yeah, and I was going to say the same thing.
There you go.
If that's 3 months in duration, then make it 6.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And in that time, if you can, try to have double the amount or have that full amount of working capital available to you, just so you feel confident in starting your business.
Absolutely. Another area that is important to have in capital is contingency capital. Having that little bit tucked away for things that you don't know are going to happen until you get into the business. I generally learn about the business once I'm in the business. It's important to learn to shoot the gun before you go into battle, but once you're into battle, you're going to learn more about the enemy, and sometimes you need to have money in reserve.
Correct. Thanks, Rich. We hope those were a couple of really suggested or useful suggestions for you, and we welcome your suggestions. Even though Rich and I have worked in this space for almost 20 years, it's something that we always welcome the contributions of other people from as well.
Absolutely. Learning from others is critical. Have a fantastic day. Get out there and make it big, and stay in touch. MakeItBigTraining.com. Thank you.
Thank you.